sit there and chill for a second.
I can go into the
You can go into the what?
the live, so to speak. I can go into the live.
What do you mean?
There should be a live started for this, right?
It's already started.
Right, I'm trying to find the new live. 6 are watching. Okay, so let me see who's watching.
Really? How'd they get the link? It's supposed to be private. That's what people must have sat in.
So look, it's open.
It's not open. See, that's the thing. If you do your lives too close together,
We'll stop it and start again.
mm-mm.
See, you said 2. You show 2, I show 6.
Yeah, because I never got out your live, so I'm still in there. So that's what I'm saying. Now I say 16.
17 online.
17. Hold on. Let me make sure though. I'm about to go to your channel from here.
Okay.
And it kind of don't matter. It's not that many people. See, there's some people that just left it on. That's all. Yeah, see, they can't. The regular people can't see it. Answer that.
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Hello?
Hey, Mr. B.
Hey, yo.
Yeah. Hey, I called you earlier, man. I'm Georgia. Hey, I'm trying to figure out, man. I really don't know how to navigate through this Patreon. And I noticed you said that you was doing a live show. How do I get to it?
We're about to post the link here shortly.
Are you on Telegram?
I was about to post it on Patreon.
Oh, she's about to post it on Patreon. April's about to post it on Patreon. Just hold on, okay?
You can stay on the line.
You can stay on the line. Hold on.
And wait for you to post it.
Tiffany Davis just said, okay, I'm on Patreon.
So what's the caller's name? Who are we talking to?
Mine?
Yeah.
Frederick.
Okay, hold on,
Frederick is my real name. You might have SY9. SY9.
I'm trying to find you on
SY and the number 9.
Okay, hold on. I'm going through here looking. SY. There you are. Okay. I sent you a link directly, okay?
Go to your Patreon direct messages. You'll see a link.
Okay, I see messages.
Okay.
Got it just now.
There
Okay,
you go. So you can
Thank
connect.
Thank y'all very much.
You're welcome.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You want to go ahead and start getting
Nathan on the phone?
yeah.
Okay, I'll call him. And when you're done, you gotta call Pimpy.
Okay.
Hey, Nathan.
Hey, Brandon. How are you?
Hey, good. Were you asleep?
No, not at all. But just it's still riding here, so the internet's sort of it's a little bit intermittent, but it's it's all good.
All right, we're on We're on Patreon right now. I'm putting the phone up to the microphone. Okay, so people can hear you better. Okay.
People are still coming.
People are still coming in, so you have a few minutes to just kind of relax. We can talk, whatever bullshit. We got to still call Pempe. So, how's your day going?
Everything's good.
Good. Hey, Jack. Susan's here. Okay, we got some people coming in. Send it to Todd too.
Todd, I did. I just sent it. Todd was the first person I sent it to.
There's 35 people who can be here right now.
Right.
It's 35. You showed 35 people?
Yeah. Hey Nathan.
Yeah.
Your response from the last show was crazy. I gotta get your reaction to that in a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
Who else? That should be it. Cause I'm just yeah.
Did you post it in Telegram?
No, because not everybody's a Patreon on Telegram, is it?
Yeah, they should be in Telegram. Who is it?
I don't know. I mean I don't go through there. And look, hold on a second. So I think there's more people in there than that. Oh, wrong thing. Come on.
Hold on here. We don't know how to join the Patreon call. Someone just sent me that on Telegram. Hold on here.
Tell them to go to the Telegram.
Tell them go to the Telegram group. Okay, everybody. If you're listening to my voice, go to light.
I text Lee. Do I need to call him?
Okay. So is everybody there? Are we good? Or?
We're at 50.
Hold on here. Okay. We're at... Okay. So do we have it posted enough places, you think?
Mm-hmm.
You want to call Lee?
Yeah.
How drunk is Nathan tonight?
Not at all.
Not at all. Tonight you get sober, Nathan, and that sucks.
Yeah.
They wanted drunk Nathan. That's
No,
what they
they
wanted.
don't. No, they don't. Don't encourage bad behavior.
Okay, I'm calling Pempe right now, and I'll establish some ground rules, and we'll get this part. Frickin' Pempe. What a freak. Pempe, you retard.
He texted you earlier, right?
Yeah, he said he was ready, but he said he was having trouble with his phone, so call him back. He's having trouble with the internet. We're trying to get Pempe on the phone, y'all. He was having troubles in Northern California, or in California with his phone, because they were blocking out everything, so.
That's only because it's him.
Yeah, they're censoring. We'll see how it goes here.
Your call has been forwarded to an auto.
Well, we'll get started without him. So, Nathan, I have some questions from you from Facebook, okay?
Okay.
Would you mind answering a few of them?
Not at all.
Okay, great.
Oh, Jack Daniels said California has a massive blackout.
Yeah, they do, and he texted me about that too. Someone just texted me. Cindy, I think he said the electricity was going in and out. He was having troubles with that, so we have to kind of, help bear with him on that. Hold on here. Let me see. Is you live, Rising Star?
Nancy, if you don't see us, then restart your app or your laptop or your device, because everybody else sees us. And I'm testing it now. I see us from my devices. Yeah.
Nathan, one of the questions is, how do you know these Skefla people?
The name I used. Skelfla is what I used, or variations of Skelfla I used when I was why does he call it, trolling those idiots like Mark Z and what have you. But there was a guy that went on your YouTube channel the other day, and he, under the name Skelfla, so he's obviously was trying to, I don't know what he was trying to do, claiming I was a deep state plant or some BS, all this sort of rubbish. So
Yeah. What's up? Why would he? And this is the other thing. Could you tell us what are these Discord channels that you talk about? Are these call-in channels? Do they happen weekly, daily, monthly? What's a Discord channel?
You have to be invited. I'm not a gamer, but I think it was originally started up for gamers to communicate online, and it's a whole subculture. So there's Discord channels on the IQD, on the Global Currency Reset, conspiracy. There's different Discord channels with different themes. So someone sets up a server and what have you, and you get invited to it. I was invited to a Discord channel a little while back. I've been invited to a number. There's some real undercover type guru guys called Lazarus and Fleming. You'll see Fleming comment on Mark Z's channel a lot. Convicted felon, dishonesty charges, and God knows what else. There's some also being some other accusations against him, which I won't go into, but they're pretty disturbing to say the least. But it's a whole subculture. But there's some interesting. There's actually a Discord channel there I was invited into, has some real legit bankers, some high level bankers, and I know for a fact that they're the real deal. So I know a couple of them, and they've been discussing certain transactions and that are ongoing and what have you. But it's a whole subculture. It's free, but think of it as Patreon, but a little bit more of a subculture sort of theme to it.
And I used to be a member of Discord when I first got involved in cryptocurrency. That's a area that a lot of crypto people use. It's kind of like Telegram in some ways.
Well, Nathan, why haven't I ever been invited on a Discord channel? I've never been invited.
And then you have to set up an account.
I don't know. I don't know if I originally I took a lot of disdain, a huge amount of disdain for a person called Uta Becky, and I was contacted by someone whose mother was suffering from dementia, and this Uta Becky had taken hundreds of dollars off her, and even after finding out that this particular elderly woman was suffering from dementia and what have you. So that's what got me onto this whole guru thing, and trying to expose not just the majority of what they say is utter BS, but also the fact that they're monetizing it, and they're taking money from people who can't afford to give it. So that's what it became, a bit of a hobby, for want of a better word, of mine, just because, like everyone in this community, I was seeking the truth, but I was fortunate enough because I was in a position where I know there was something happening because I've been benefiting from transactions. So it was more, but in life in general, I just hate people that just default to bullshit all the time, and these gurus and these idiots who claim to have sources in Iraq, and take for example, Fleming did a post on Discord. So I'm not a member of the Fleming channel, and he would never invite me into his channel. But I'm made privy of some of his outlandish theories. He's one of his latest postings. I think it was a day or so ago. He stated that the elderly in Iraq were coming in with their 25k notes, and were being paid $371 for their 25k notes. So if that was true, which it's not, I would know for sure if that was true. If that was true, which is not, it didn't even make sense, because what do you mean they're converting? His specific post stated that they were coming in, converting to lower denoms at 371. Well, where's the conversion? What do you mean converting? Either you're converting to 371 into USD, or you're converting your money into lower denoms. It can't be one. It can't be both. You know, these people are so stupid. They don't even understand that their BS doesn't even make sense, even if it was true. So it's more like a hobby. But as you know, I'm going to be disengaging from. You know, Mark Z invited me on several times on his channel, and I was very keen because this whole I don't know if do you know much about one of his sidekicks, this Michael Cottrell, about the gold standard. Have you heard of him?
I know Marcus Luttrell, the soul. He was Marcus Luttrell was a like the lone survivor. He was a army, like a special forces.
No. This is Michael Cottrell. This is a guy who purports to be the main guy behind a gold standard being reintroduced and the Chinese coming in, the dragon families. He's one of these proponents of the dragon families and effectively wiping the world's debt away.
That's
and
bullshit.
What have you, and you know,
that's absolute bullshit.
Yeah,
I don't believe any of that shit. I don't believe in any of that shit.
It's not the lone survivor thing at all.
Yeah, I don't believe. Nathan, you know this from, and I know this. I don't believe in any of that fucking stupid shit. That's dumb shit. I can say that on Patreon.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy talk. That's dragon family bullshit. I don't believe in any of that GCR, dragon family, up your ass, fairy tale bullshit. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, but it's. Sorry, go ahead.
There's a question.
Nancy says, has Nathan heard any talk about a U.S.-Iraq trade deal in the works?
Oh, I haven't heard that, but I mean, my focus. See, there's so much information out there, and a lot of it, as we all know, is BS. So I just focus on. I only focus on people that I know firsthand. I've met, sat down with, who tell me things. You know, now that's people related to my transactions and people indirectly related to my transactions. Like I mentioned, you know, some of the bankers and what have you involved in these transactions or are privy to, I shouldn't say involved, privy to these transactions, you know, a few months ago told me, you know, they didn't believe in any of this. And these same people are now calling me or contacting me via email or what have you, you know, saying, hey, this is definitely a play here. And I say, and I say, well, I told you that, you know, of course there's a play. I mean, we've been making money on these transactions. So, you know, everybody's interested, and that's all different levels within the banking world and what have you. You know, as I said, you know, there's major transactions happening starting next week. Now, whatever that, you know, translates into for the average person, you know, we shall soon see.
Okay,
but,
Nathan, I got a question for you. Take me through your transactions. So, like, I'm Brandon. I'm from Italy, okay? And I find out there's a Nathan out there, okay? How do I find a Nathan, and what's a normal transaction for you?
Yeah, they didn't find me. The institutions that are involved in these ongoing transactions, they appointed. There was a number of institutions. They appointed a person who I knew, a person who actually I is a very famous person. I'm not going to drop his name because I'm not just.
It's here nor there. It's not important.
Yeah. So he's based out of Hong Kong, and so he was the institutions appointed him, and they said, look, we need large amounts of IQD, and they put a prerequisite together, and this particular person I actually had appointed as as the main international investment advisor for one of the main royal families in the Middle East. So we already have a working relationship. Yeah, I was the one that effectively appointed him for one of the royal families.
Yeah. So he came to me straight away. He says, "Liz, can you do this?" Because the prerequisites were, it wasn't just a matter about can you get us X amount of IQD. As I've said, it had to have a provenance to it. It had to have all the checks in place and what have you, a particular print run and what have you. It's quite an extensive list.
Okay, but let's hold on, Nathan. So for these guys, because this is not public, let's go through the checklist a little bit. What was the series run on the IQD that you had?
Well, I'm not going to give you particular. I'll say it's a particular year. It's
Okay.
2003, 2006. I'm not.
That's fine. No. That's fine. I don't want exacts. I just want roundabouts. Okay. I don't want anything exact. Okay.
Well,
what's a providence?
A print run between the years from a year perspective, 2003 to 2006, and 25K nights.
Okay. When you talk about providences, are you talking about like Baghdad? Or are you talking about like Kirkuk? Are you talking about Basra? Are you talking about like areas like that? Or are you talking about actual provinces like counties inside of Iraq?
No, provenance is what we're. Provenance is not. No, provenance is the history of this particular dinar. So these institutions need to, whether it's due to their own compliance departments or what have you, or the respective compliance departments, we have to show the provenance of this IQD. So it wasn't once owned by, let's say, it wasn't owned or used as a money in some form of some black transaction or grey transaction. So the history, who owned the IQD, and right back to when De La Rue printed the stuff. So we have to give the provenance of it. Yeah, okay. And that has to be independently verified by, well, you could probably guess, the CBI. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more. I don't know the exact reason for these particular prerequisites on the dinar that they want, but one of them is definitely from an anti-money laundering perspective. Who are owned dinar? Who had owned the dinar previously? Why? What? etc. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Did they have a deadline when they wanted the purchases completed by? Was that part of your sequences?
Well,
each group was probably different.
No, they've never ever had a. They've been notoriously slow because our first transaction happened in September last year. It was for a few billion dinar. Now, that was just a preliminary transaction, make sure everything went smoothly. They could verify the IQD, independently with our own checklist and what have you. So, and that took from the first that first transaction took about 6 months from the first time we accrued that allocation, that first tranche, for them to consummate and everyone to be paid out on. Now, the major tranches started a few weeks ago, and these are far greater than what we did in September last year. Now that was effectively we've waited another year for them to put all that together. But what I did, one of the prerequisites I insisted on was a performance bond on these final transactions because it was such a huge amount of IQD. And for us to allocate that amount and with all the prerequisites, it's a big task. So I put a performance bond. So there is a deadline in that respective. But the deadline was enforced by me because I told my guys, listen, I don't mind waiting how long, but I want to back wall on the transaction. So there is a deadline on these finals, which is November the 28th. But the only reason that deadline exists is because I put it into the contract.
Not because of some superficial.
So it wasn't. Not because of some superficial. No, right. It wasn't imposed by the institutions. I insisted on it because so they, in other words, with the performance bond, they have to consummate successfully, and if they don't, I still get paid. So it's an insurance policy for me.
Okay, another question would be, why would people buy the Iraqi Dinar Would there be another reason besides money?
Are you asking Bethany?
Yes, say that again.
Would there be another reason why people would purchase Iraqi dinar?
Like, why do the institutions want the dinar besides it being money?
Well, yeah, there's lots of theories I've speculated on. There's all sorts of things that could be done with a huge amount of hard currency, or a huge amount of IQD. I've speculated. Are they looking at? One of them obviously. One of them, a potential RVRI. That's obviously one of them. Now, at the same time, there's also other ways where they can guarantee a return on their investment, and there's ways of structuring things. Just like anything, you can structure a derivative whereby, let's say, they were to lop or redenominate their currency. There is a potential. It's very complicated, but there are certain people out there that could structure a currency whereby once they wrapped it into a derivative and it lopped, they still retain the original amount prior to the lop. So effectively, for example, as I've said before, a 25k note becomes a 25 IQD note. The IQD they placed within the derivative would be protected from any lop. So that 25k note effectively remains a 25k note. Now, that's sort of a bit out there. That's a bit out of left field. But I have actually spoken to a very, very connected banker out of Europe who was interested, and we talked at length about that theory, and it's a possibility. But it's just a theory. There's other ongoing theories that I'm leaning towards. I truly believe that something major in the markets is about to happen, and we're right on the cusp of this thing, and that's proven by the confirmation of these major transfers going into Europe starting next week, that are specifically been earmarked for exotic currencies, and which IQD is one of them. So there's a play ongoing, but these institutions don't move. Everything's well prepared ahead of time. And that's what when you mentioned on your show tonight, that you were right, but not quite right. Any major transaction in USD can be halted by the US Treasury.
Gotcha.
It's not any currency. So that's why I'm privy to these transactions, because they're happening in USD. Starting in Europe next week, and that's why the US Treasury had to give approval, and that's why the bankers know. And when that approval was given, the bankers knew there was they were notified what the transactions were for, and in that description or whatever you want to call it, it stated for the buying of large amounts of exotic or foreign currency. I don't know if they used the word exotic. That was probably something that the bank I spoke to added to that.
Do you have any recollection why they would do this now? What's the reason?
What, these transactions starting next week?
Yeah.
Well, I told you they're specifically these transactions, especially earmarked for currency, for the buying of certain currencies.
Yeah, I know, but why? Why now? Why are they buying these currencies now? Why are they doing it at this very moment? What's going on?
Well, it's the $60,000 question, man. I don't know, and the bankers don't know. I mean, these same bankers that have told me. Well, there's one banker specifically that told me, and since then there's a couple of other people I've spoken to, but they don't know. But that's why they contacted me, because they know of my ongoing transactions. So they're trying to put the puzzle together just as much as you and I are.
Now, Nathan, when you say banker, are you talking about like the bank branch manager at Wells Fargo in Wiley, North Dakota? When you say banker, describe to me what type of bankers you're talking about.
Okay, so bankers I talk to, and these aren't middle management guys. These are all C-level guys, yeah?
What is define C-level?
well, C-level, it's like CEO, Chief Operating Officer, Vice President level, yeah?
What banks?
Well, I'm not going to go into the banks. That's I won't. But as you know, I have a very close friend who, on the back of our IQD transactions, this is how profitable it's been for him. And you know who this is, and you've seen the paperwork, and you know the bank. He bought one of Zurich's oldest private banks from his commissions on the IQD.
So I guess another question would be, a person like you, Nathan, who's worked in Nigeria, you worked in Qatar, Al Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, you worked all over the world, right? Like, why would you call this channel? Like you could call anybody. Like, you could do anything. Why would you call us? Like, why would you give us this information?
Well, I mean, I've learned something in life, and particularly in the last, say, 10 or 15 years, is that a lot of people, when they see these talking heads on TV, whether it's to do with the financial markets or what have you, I happen to know quite a few of these people, yeah? Some relatively famous people. I know them personally. And one thing you learn in life, well, at least I have, is most people don't know what they're talking about, right? They really just don't. And that's not, I'm not saying I know everything, far from it,
Right.
But I like you and like most people, if you're involved in something, I'm intrigued. So the reason I called in, well, the first time I called in is, I had a few drinks, so it's probably wasn't the most apt opportunity to call in. Nevertheless, I like speculating. I like talking about this because I would love to know, from a selfish perspective, if I knew exactly what this play was, I could make a hell of a lot of money. That's really what it boils down to, and I'm still a believer, even with the guru clowns. Some of them do touch on a few topics which I know personally to be true. They just don't know just generally speaking, they don't know what they're talking about. So, particularly when they get into the whole cultural thing of the Middle East, it frustrates me because I grew up in the Middle East. I understand the whole dynamics between the Shia and the Sunni, and these clowns just have no idea. So calling in, maybe it's a hard one to answer that one, actually, because I thought that, especially after our last call, I wonder that myself. But I'm fortunate because I don't lose anything. I can't, I'm not going to start dropping names and getting too specific,
right.
because that's just from a professional perspective. It's not the right thing to do. But at the same time, and with all due respect, and I don't want this to sound too arrogant, the guys I talk to aren't going to be listening to Mr. Brando on YouTube. Yeah?
I mean, of course, right? That's my whole point.
Yeah. So,
I mean, like, they're not going to tune in for me for financial advice, right?
Yeah, these guys, but they're just the same as you and I, They're absolutely just the same as you and I. They're normal people. They're not privy. Some of them are privy to stuff. So I'm a puzzle guy as well. I like trying to put the puzzle together, the pieces together. So it's so calling in. I also, as you've known, with my other business, I have a lot of downtime on my hands. Too much. Hence I started having the odd drink occasionally, and it's just a boredom thing. But I also, when I started researching these gurus and looking into some of the crap that they propagate, I actually have an affinity to some of the people, because I know for a fact there's a lot of people out there that are counting on this thing to change their life. And believe it or not, I would like, I'm a father like you, and I'd like to think that I could do a little bit of good in the world. If that means relaying information I'm privy to that gives people that bit of boost, that a bit of a boost that, hey, this IQD thing, there may just be something to it, then I'm going to do that. I mean, I'd like to think that, I'm not a complete asshole, even though I'm sure I came across like that on our last call.
No, Nathan. There's such a thing as being real and authentic. I've had a meltdown on my own show, so don't feel like that, okay? I'm not saying that. When you get attacked,
I'm not losing sleep. But, there's a lot. It's like the guy from Georgia that called in your show tonight. He sounds like a nice guy. And I do believe, and I have to emphasize this, some of these gurus do touch on topics, and I think to myself, they never quite get it right. But stuff that I know to be true, they touch on things, and I think, wow, who has told them that? Because it's not something you're going to get from researching on Google. So it makes you think there is someone feeding them information.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, it's just I can't. I should have made notes, but this over time, a couple of them have said things where I think, wow, that's actually true. I wonder who's told them that. To the top of my head, I can't come up with an example, but I'll get some examples. I'll send you an email with some examples of Pacific gurus saying things that I think to myself, wow, there's somebody's, that's not something you can even make up. That's somebody's told them that's connected or understands this world a lot better than these clowns do. Right. So, that always makes, that does make me wonder, because if you go down the rabbit hole on Discord, they believe that all these, because there are, those conspiracy-loving people out there. It is very interesting that the most of these gurus have felony charges. You've got Tony TNT, convicted felon. Who, I don't know how many people know this, but when he was during his sentence here, I read his court transcripts here, and he stated to the judge when he was being sentenced, that he held no foreign currencies. Yeah, so anyone that listens to a guy who purports to be a major investor in IQD, who doesn't actually own IQD. And he told the judge that during his sentencing. You've got Mark Z. Mark Z has a major drug bust. To this day, I don't understand why he's not serving time. I suspect it's because he's got health issues. He's effectively a paraplegic, but not he can still walk, but he's had some major health issues. So whether they were able to strike a deal, who knows?
The marijuana bust you're talking about? The marijuana?
What's that?
The marijuana they caught him with?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was a big hole they busted him on. So why he's not inside or doing or under house arrest or anything like that, is surprising to me. So then all this conspiracy nuts say there's someone feeding them information. They've done a deal with the deep state, or they've done a deal with certain fractions, to stay out of jail. I don't believe that. If you're going to get someone to propagate a message or a conspiracy, you're really going to get clowns like this. You've got Fleming, convicted felon. One of the main common denominators these gurus have it's really high, is that they're convicted of some serious felony charge on their rap sheet. Yeah, right. Of them, but a large majority of them are. So. That's I find that fascinating. And then a lot of the conspiracy nuts on Discord say that's because they're being handled by one particular person or persons that are feeding them information. It doesn't, as you know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it does fascinate me when the odd time, and I should have had some notes here, sorry, that the gurus have said something that only a top-level banker or someone truly connected in the U.S. Treasury knows. Now, I have a bit of information about the U.S. Treasury, which I'm just thinking I should lay out here. But I will. I'll tell you. I've told you this story, and this is. Here's some intel. Yeah.
Okay.
I even hate using that term. I even hate using that term. But I know for a fact that the U.S. Treasury had a meeting with the CBI. When was it now? A few months ago. I actually had the exact date. I just haven't got it on the top of my head. They had a meeting with the CBI whereby they bought a huge amount of IQD, and that contingent, that U.S. Treasury contingent, after the meeting in the CBI, flew back where this particular IQD was being held and picked up the IQD, and they paid a massive premium for it. Now that's not something I would do on your YouTube channel. I'll say that on the Patreon channel. People can call me out. I know that's a fact. I know two of the people that are in the meeting. Yeah,
okay, hold on. Say it one more time, though, Nathan. You broke up really bad. Say that one more time. You broke up really bad. You know of a high-level meeting between the CBI and who?
So the contingent from the U.S. Treasury had a meeting with the CBI a few months ago, whereby they negotiated the purchasing of a large amount of IQD at a premium.
And we know that the actual U.S. Treasury doesn't have a large amount of foreign currency, right?
Well, that's the thing. I've always wondered about that, because you've heard these conspiracy theories that the U.S. Treasury, holds 12 or 20 trillion or whatever IQD. I don't know about any of that. All I know is that meeting took place and the U.S. Treasury purchased that IQD a few months ago.
Do you know how much?
And they paid. What's that?
Do you know how much IQD they bought?
No, I don't, and it's a question I should have asked at the time, but I don't. I don't. It was like a closed transaction. From my understanding of it, all I know is it happened. The same contingent, after the negotiations in Iraq directly with the CBI, flew straight to where the IQD was being held, stored, and picked up the IQD. I don't know how much, but I do know for a fact that happened, and I know for a fact they paid a significant premium.
What was the premium?
What's that?
What was the premium?
Yeah, I don't know the premium, and I don't know the amount.
If you had to guess, what could you guess at it?
Yeah, well, I don't like guessing because, it's just, is it the same? Maybe it's a significant, what constitutes a significant premium?
Good
half
answer.
a penny as opposed to 1/10 of a penny?
Right.
That's still 100%, or 500% markup on the current exchange rate. That's a big premium. So I don't know. Our institution transactions are fluctuating anywhere between 2 to 3 cents an IQD. It's a massive premium. But some people, in the dinar community will say, well, that's nothing. I want 371. Well, I can guess it wasn't 371. I'll say that much. Yeah. But if I have to guess, it's probably the region of, I'll put it on what our institutions are paying. It's 2 to 3 cents. So if you want to guess, that's the guess. But I'm only basing that on personal transactions. Yeah.
Nathan,
maybe it was a bit more.
Nathan,
The two guys that were in the meeting. Yes, sir.
where do you think that the dinar value will end up?
Hello?
Yeah, where do you think the dinar value will end up? Can you hear me, Nathan?
Yeah. Well, you say, where do you think, and then you cut out.
Oh, I said, where do you think the dinar's value will end up?
Where do you think the dinar value will end up?
Yeah, well, if I knew that, April, as I've said, I'm in a very fortunate position that I can literally make a phone call and have billions of dinar air freighted to anywhere in the world. And I don't have to pay for it for 90 days. So if I knew that answer, I would already air freighted it. I would have already made that phone call, and I haven't. So,
Okay. Just.
But would you? Hold on. Would you?
What's that?
Would you have billions created somewhere and buy it?
He's not gonna say that.
So I have billions. What?
Would you buy billions and created in somewhere and buy it? Would you?
Would I do that if I knew what was happening? Of course, I would be an idiot if I
Okay.
would
Okay.
absolutely make that phone call.
Okay.
If I once, look, I'm also been told by our guy, when I say our guy, the chap who, he's representing the institutions, who's the point man on the bike.
All right.
He told me they're going, when all this is finished, they're actually going to Tuscany with all the institutions and that. They're having a meeting, let's say a working holiday in Tuscany in Italy. And he's told me that he's going to know exactly the whole thing.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, that working holiday is scheduled for early next year. So that's why I think by that time, that's one of the reasons why I said to your listeners, viewers, or whatever, that I'm very, very confident at the latest this whatever is happening, a large amount of it will be out in the mainstream by the end of the first quarter, because I suspect they'll have that meeting and it'll come out just after that, or it'll already come out, and they're scheduled after the Chinese New Year to go on that Tuscany holiday. All the institutional heads. So you're thinking February, March. It'll definitely be out by the end of March, if not before.
Okay, Nathan. Recently, there was a lot of armored trucks removed from the green zone that represented like a lot of currency being moved out of there because of the protesting. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I haven't specifically asked any of my guys in Iraq about that. That's as a security measure. I mean, you're going down the conspiracy rabbit hole there. Sure, if with the uprising and the riots, that's just a safety protocol, security protocol. So I wouldn't buy in. I wouldn't have much to say about that either way. I mean, is that some erroneous reason behind? Is there some erroneous reason behind that? I don't know. I mean, I could make a phone. I could ask about it, but if I had to guess, it's just a security protocol that's been enforced.
Yeah.
Because it's when like that's all. There's not. I mean, what is that clown Frank 26 saying? What is he saying about that? I mean, I find it hard because I like that Frank 26 is just, if there's anyone I would like to throttle just with the bullshit he speaks, and just that's one. He's one of my favorite ones to hate. A guy I love to hate. That man washed, and all with no disrespect to people's professions. As my father said to me, he would have been happy if I was a trash guy, picked up trash as long as you're happy. I'm not. But that man who claims he's a genius, washed dishes in an Italian restaurant for most of his career.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have really another question. I think we should reserve a theory for another day where you just give a theory for like 20 minutes or something like that. I don't want to go into that right now. I got Miss BB over here falling asleep on me. So we'll hang up tonight. We'll do a theory like on a Thursday where you can just rattle it off for 20 or 30 minutes. If that's okay with you, Nathan, and we'll call it a night. And this was a great call. Thank you so much. You don't have to do this, and I don't care about the last call on YouTube. That's water under the bridge for me. But thank you for doing this tonight, man. And we'll talk more in the future. Okay?
That's fine. And look, there's a couple things that I've got that I'm very happy to go into and extrapolate on and what have you, and expand on. And that's fine. And with some substance, there's some substance to these theories. There's things that I know that it's like I said, it's putting the pieces together. But I just want to take this opportunity with regards to Steve-O, yeah? I really respect a person after what I said about him and what have you that comes on your show. So I think he said he's going to be listening to your Patreon show.
He's on here. He's on there.
So just a shout out to Steve-O. I respect any man that didn't, he took the high road there, and I got a lot of respect for that. So, I don't want to open that can of worms again with what he said on the few shows back, but I'm just saying I have respect for any man that has the cojones to at least he could have had a go at me again, and he didn't, and I respect that. So I just wanted to say that, by the way.
He likes you. So.
He likes you.
Okay.
All these Patreons.
For me, it's not a popularity contest. I'm like everyone. I'd like to get to. I'm just fortunate that I know there's a play going on. It's not a theory. It's not some outlandish BS. I'm very fortunate that I'm involved in ongoing transactions. So there is a play. What that play is. I'm getting it very close to finding out, shall we say.
Right.
But, it's a very interesting time. And for those poor souls who have been in this thing for 10 years plus, I'm confident enough to say, really, we're going to find out very shortly. Now whether that's the high end of my timeline, i.e. end of March, end of Q1 2020, or maybe it's as close as things start leaking out from. And when I say leaking out, I don't mean all the bullshit from the gurus. I mean from mainstream media, pundits, financial pundits. That maybe that's going to start as early as next week. I think that's a little bit too early, but there's definitely stuff like this can't. You've got people like me calling in, So it only takes a journalist worth his salt to make the right call or overhear a conversation between some bankers before this thing really starts to leak out.
To bubble over. Yeah. I hope to do one call with you and Pempe later on, just because I know Pempe has a lot of questions for you. He respects you tremendously, as well as I do and Miss Bibi does. And we thank you for your time and your efforts. And brother, I won't take up no more time, man. I will say goodnight, man. It's 47 minutes for you. Thank you so much, okay, bro?
No, it's good. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with Pimpe, because I even though I don't believe in these Jasara stuff, I'm still interested in having a discussion with him. I'm looking forward to that.
Golden Zombies and the Gold Standard, man. I can't wait.
Okay, cool.
Thanks, man.
Good night, Nathan.
Good night, Nathan.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Patreons.